Good morning, Indiana. Boy, let me tell you, it's cold outside today. All over the world, or all over the U.S., it's quite a bit colder, I think even in the South. This is February the 13th, Saturday, and my name is Terry Christ. I am the retired part-time pastoral minister at Mount Gilead Church, and glad to be with you today and excited about what we're going to share with you. You know, a lot of people suffering right now, all kinds of suffering. There's emotional suffering, there's physical suffering going on, and death, and so many losses, and it's just really difficult in this season that we're in. And of course, along with COVID and everything that's goes along with it, it doesn't make it any easier, does it? Well, James addresses suffering and a great need that we have in suffering. He says in chapter 5 and beginning with verse 7, "Be patient, therefore, brothers, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient about it until it receives the early and the late rains. You also be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. Do not grumble against one another, brothers, so that you may not be judged. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. As an example of suffering and patience, brothers, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. Behold, we consider those blessed who remain steadfast. You have heard of the steadfastness of Job, and you have seen the purpose of the Lord, how the Lord is compassionate and merciful." Yeah, quite a passage here, a lot included, and we'll just kind of touch on it a little bit. Patience, the word patient here literally means, in this particular word in the original Greek, means long suffering, suffering long. You know, it's one thing to have a cold for a few days. It's another thing to be fighting cancer for weeks and weeks and months and months. And, suffering long. And he tells us to be patient in that long suffering. In fact, he uses the example of a farmer. And I know I grew up a farmer, and I remember planting the seeds. Even as a kid, I would say, "Dad, when are those seeds going to come up? When are the plants going to come?" And he'd say, "Well, you just got to wait and be patient." And it seemed like it took forever, weeks and weeks, and gradually the plants would pop through and then grow. So a farmer has to wait a long time in order to see what he has planted come to fruition. Even so, we, in our suffering and our difficulty, have to wait sometimes a long time before we see the light in the future. And he said, don't grumble. It's a tendency, especially when we're under that kind of stress, to grumble, isn't it? To grumble at other people, to grumble even maybe at our own spouse, or grumble at the neighbors, grumble at the church members, and so on. He says, don't grumble. Let the Lord judge, and even in things that you feel like, I got a right to grumble. Well, let the Lord handle it. He'll take care of it. And then he lists the prophets. And if you were to read Hebrews 11, verses 32, I think, through 38, you would find the kinds of suffering that those prophets of God went through. It was amazing, the suffering that they went through. And yet they remained steadfast and became heroes of the faith. And so we need to be steadfast, even as the prophets were steadfast in their suffering. You know, sometimes when it's hard is when you're having extreme difficulty. Maybe you're having financial difficulty and all the other difficulties, and you look around you and the wicked prosper. Oh, God wants us to be faithful even when the wicked prosper. In Psalms chapter 73, David's feet were almost gone when he saw the prosperity of the wicked. It troubled him, the great king. And it troubles us when we see others prosper that probably shouldn't, because their faith is not there with the Lord. And then he ends with the illustration of Job. Oh my, if you've read the book of Job in the Old Testament, you know that this man had everything taken from him, and he was wealthy, and all taken from him, and sores over his body. His wife even said to him, Job, why don't you just curse God and die? But he hung in there, and he never did do that, and he was faithful to the Lord even when he was suffering and had nothing. And God was so well pleased with him that in the end he gave him twice as much as he had in the beginning. Oh, this man suffered, but he was steadfast. And so the message to you and to me today is, in the midst of suffering and trials and difficulties, remain steadfast. Hold on to the rope of God's love and be faithful to him. And God will bless us in the end. Oh, what a marvelous God that we serve. We certainly do. Jeff is going to be preaching tomorrow from the book of Exodus about the actual exodus of the Israelites. And boy, it's going to be great. I hope if you don't have a place to worship, that you'll worship at 9 o'clock with us here and 10:30. And if you can't be there, that you'll do so online. Just looking forward to the Lord's Day in a great way. May this be a marvelous weekend for you, and may the glory of the Lord be with you as you are steadfast and firm in your faith. God bless you all.